Guys, I have to admit something right now. It is kind of, a bit peaceful to know that the Witness is, no longer existing in the Destiny universe. This is our first weekend past or couple days past the, inevitable Witness downfall the other day, and us finally killing it and ending the Light and Dark Saga. And, the last couple of hours, I kind of felt at peace for some reason. Obviously, there's something looming in the horizon coming out on Tuesday, and tomorrow, as of this video, or well, technically today, as I'm doing this video, 12 in the morning, that there is apparently going to be a new reveal that Bungie is going to put out for the future of Destiny, and they're likely going to talk about, Echoes, Revenant, Heresy. The next year of Destiny, maybe the Reprise raid. Please put in chat, by the way, if you think Wrath and Machine's coming back. I know all of you want Wrath and Machine because it's the best raid ever, and maybe a Destiny 3 teaser. Who knows? I'm very excited about that. But a lot of people are wondering, okay, Redrix, what's coming in Echoes? What is the secret exotic? And what is the exotic mission? Because I know a lot of people have been told at this point that Echoes and the episodes will be including a new exotic mission and an exotic, and they're very curious on what Echoes will include now that the final shape is basically over, at least with the story narrative, and they're curious to hop him back in. We're just going to talk about some little things with some of the new activities, and of course a huge preview into the brand new exotic auto rifle, Choir of One. And this exotic auto rifle is going to be something you guys are going to want to stick around for once it comes out. Obviously it's not out right now, but it's going to have some really interesting perks that we're going to talk about. It is actually going to be one of those exotics where it's like Outbreak, where over the course of a couple weeks when you do the heroic mission and doing challenges, you can get other exotic perks to be added onto it, and it is craftable. And exotic auto rifles are just so awesome. I'm talking to you, Monte Carlo, you're the best. So let's get right into it, and if you don't mind, please be sure to subscribe as we're trying to get to 30k. It would mean a lot. But let's get right into it. So the Choir of One. Redrix, what can you tell me? Well, it's a new exotic auto rifle, and it's a void auto rifle. Now, its exotic intrinsic perk for this exotic auto is called Command Frame. Fires extended range, heavy caliber projectiles. That's like the main intrinsic thing that it will do. Now, what is the other trait that we know of? Well, the exotic trait is called Fantastical Lance, which rapid final blows cause targets to explode into a pool of radiolarian fluid. Hip firing launches multiple projectiles at once in a slower moving spread pattern. Projectiles detonate on impact. So looking at those two exotic perks together, you can tell that this is going to be it's basically pretend Collective Obligation, a pulse rifle, but actually it's an auto and way cooler and way more badass. That's how I'm going to put it, and as an auto. But it's really interesting as it's really going to sync up with the sort of Vexil Radiolarian Fluid, as we've been seeing as a very big perk on the legendary weapons. We've been seeing, if you've been progressing with the season pass on Echoes, you see that there's a origin trait with all the weapons that basically make it sort of radiolarian damage over time, sort of pool attack on all the weapons after a shot is blast. So this is really taking it to a further step. However, again, higher caliber projectiles and more likely to detonate on impact. Now, the exotic catalyst, there's 3 exotic catalysts that you guys will be able to do with the new exotic mission called Encore. Now, this will be the exotic mission that will be launching, and we'll be getting right into that in some of the release schedules in just a minute. But after completing it and doing some little steps in the future, the other exotic catalysts that you can get with this weapon are Onslaught, Subsistence, and Destabilizing Rounds. Looking at all those together, all those perks will basically make this exotic auto a huge powerhouse against anyone that stands in your way. I think it's going to be very interesting. Again, I wasn't actually expecting it to be void. I actually thought it was going to be solar, but looking at it as a void auto rifle, again, I think it's going to really be an interesting weapon to use in the energy slot. Again, it's going to be something very cool that we still have to get our hands on, but looking at what it can do and what it can be as an auto rifle, it looks very cool. Now, Redrix, when will I see this? Now, this Echoes is launching on Tuesday, as many of you know. We're going to get some stuff, and with my unfortunate news, the Choir of One, as of right now, looks like to be launching an Act 3. Now, the first six weeks of a episode is a one act, and with the first 6 weeks, it's Act 1. The next 6 weeks is Act 2, and the last 6 weeks is Act 3. Yet we don't know if this is going to be the exact finalized version, as we aren't sure what Bungie is actually doing. If they're going to switch something up, they still have to actually, try and play test with how the community will react to episodes, because we don't know what it's going to be like. We don't know how much content we're going to blast through or not blast through. Maybe there's way too many content, or there's way too much stuff going on, or maybe there's not. So we don't really know exactly how Bungie, because again, Bungie can always change things. But looking at it right now, it looks like it's one of the Act 3 activities. Now I'm going to give a brief summary on what the activities you're going to see coming into Echoes, because you probably are wondering, we're getting these 3-player match-made activities, but we don't know what they are, and you don't know what they're going to be about. So I'm just going to give you a small glimpse. Now, it looks like all these activities will be taking place on Nessus, which is going to be the main key destination for Echoes, and the first activity is called Breach Executable, which is a 3-player match-made activity that has players complete some encounters and collect data motes to activate one of the number of random power-ups to accelerate said progress of the story narrative, whatever's going on behind the scenes. In Act 2, which is the next 6 weeks, you're going to see Echoes get Battlegrounds. So if you played Season of the Chosen or Season of the Seraph and you know Battlegrounds very well, there's sort of like a really cool, like in a way, strike, but way cooler. It has tons of enemy density. It's not too long, but it's kind of cool because you go and face off against, and you do some sort of new objectives that aren't always the same thing that you would usually get, but it's a lot of enemy density type activities. We're going to get that in the second act. And in Act 3 is where the Encore Exotic Mission, which Choir of One is from, and the Enigma Protocol activity, which is another activity. Again, there's not much to say, but Encore will have upgrades that will unlock in some replayable value to get those said catalysts and the exotic auto rifle Choir of One. So looking at that all together, we can see that there's a lot of stuff going on in Echoes just from that small glimpse, and Choir of One seems to be something that a lot of Guardians might be very interested about, as you know, we are again unsure where the Destiny future is headed, but if you want to know what weapons you will be able to go through, expect a lot of the Vex type synergy, pool damage over time type Vex aesthetic to be something you're going to look at and see within the next couple of weeks, or well, I should say 12 to 18 weeks. Again, episode, I think Echoes is going to last till early October. I think it's October 6th Revenant, which would be the second episode launches. So we're going to be here for basically all the summer long. So if you're into Vex stuff, you're going to love this episode. If not, I don't know what you're doing. But again, you know, it's really interesting to, you know, be able to see some of this stuff really early. Again, you know, it's a while away. Obviously, we still have a lot of time until this comes out. I don't really understand why it needs to come out on the last act. I kind of think this more as like, you know, a peak, you know, thing that we should see sooner. But again, we'll see how the story narrative goes and if it connects very well. Obviously, this new exotic mission is supposed to be on terms of quality around Whisper and 0 Hour. That's why it's releasing a bit later, as a lot of Guardians will likely be more entitled to replay this activity or look at the challenges and secrets. It seems to me that they're going to take more of a 0 Hour Whisper approach with how it will be designed. But again, time to tell. I think Bungie really nailed it with Final Shape, so I cannot wait to see what they do with the Choir of One exotic and its exotic mission, as well as the Echoes all together. Something else to point out here. I know people have been asking about the endgame activity sort of format now. We usually would get 2 dungeons and 2 raids per year. Now that we have the Salvation's Ed raid, I know a lot of Guardians aren't thinking about the next PvE activity, endgame activity, but I just wanted to point it out here on what my thoughts are. I know we're getting 2 dungeons, and we don't know yet as if the Nessus dungeon is actually going to happen. Apparently that has been put out to be fake, which was a video I've recently put out and not supposed to happen. But looking at all together, if we look at logistically, I think we're not going to get another dungeon this time around, and we're going to get 2 dungeons, one with Revenant and one with Heresy. But then that leaves 1 spot open for a raid or / returning raid, which is why a lot of Guardians have said Wrath Machine or Leviathan are going to come back. Again, we don't know what Bungie are going to do. I know people are going out there saying that there's going to be a 10th year anniversary pack in September. I don't know about any of that, but it is definitely interesting to put out here because I know a lot of Guardians are thinking of that. I think all the episodes are going to include exotic missions, so those are not going to be considered the end game activity, but this time around, I guess because we got Salvation's Edge, that will be considered like the biggest end game activity that we're going to get in Echoes due to the raid launching with Final Shape. But yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next one. Again, stay safe, and, you know, hope all of you guys enjoyed the Light and Dark Saga. I cannot wait to see what Bungie reveals in the future tomorrow. Alright, love you guys.